I worked with Satoshi in 2010. I found Bitcoin in July of 2010 on an amazing website, news for nerds, called slash.org. Bitcoin, the decentralized currency, was the headline on the article. I had to click.
Well, thank you, sir, for doing this. I really appreciate it. To start with, can you please tell our audience what your name is and what do you do?
Jeff Garzik, former Bitcoin Core developer. Right now, I'm an entrepreneur and small-time investor. I've been building an L2 called Hemi for the past 2 years. And prior to that, I continue to run Block, which spins out DeFi and other token-related blockchain projects.
Very good. We'll get into Hemi and Block in a little bit, but as I said before we started rolling, some people here don't really know your place in the history of Bitcoin. So can you please refresh those of us who might not know, or tell the new audience?
Sure. The speed version, I guess, is I worked with Satoshi in 2010. I found Bitcoin in July of 2010 on an amazing website, news for nerds, called slash.org.
I love slash.org.
And yeah, history of nerddom on that website. Bitcoin, the decentralized currency, was the headline on the article. I had to click.
Fantastic.
I'm a lover of science fiction, and so in the 1990s, I read a series of novels based on the future called Shadowrun, like a very cyberpunk type novel. And they talked about decentralized currency in the 90s. And to me, it was always inevitable that decentralized currency was going to happen. I was just waiting for it. And July of 2010, it happened. And so I downloaded it. As an open source engineer at the time, I could look under the hood. That's the beauty of open source. And I was a skeptic. I approached it as a skeptic. I thought, oh, surely Bitcoin's just 5 servers in a data center. You know, that's their version of decentralized. And I happily was wrong. And it was beautiful. It was definitely a work of like a lone rogue genius. The source code back in those days, it wasn't professionally engineered. That, again, to me, says Satoshi was kind of a lone rogue working in the basement genius. He said on the forums, famously, he had to launch Bitcoin to prove to himself that Bitcoin would work.
Wow. Yeah.
And so worked with Satoshi in the early days, was an early days miner in 2010, would live through the CPU, GPU, FPGA, now ASIC era of Bitcoin mining. I was involved in the block size wars. That was a thing in 2014 and 2017. And Bitcoin, through it all, continues to be bomb-proof, continues to make blocks every 10 minutes on average.
Yeah. I'm just curious, before you were introduced to Bitcoin, you thought that digital currencies were inevitable? Did you think it was going to be open source?
That's a really good question. I've got to give you points for asking a question no one has ever answered before. I think to be decentralized, it's got to be open source. I think centralization is inevitably closed source, as we call it, kind of the high priests in the ivory towers dictating rules. That's always been kind of the centralized model, whether it's closed source software or centralized currencies. And so I think to be open source, it must be ultimately decentralized, and the inverse, to be decentralized, it must be open source.
Well, I'd love to get your thoughts on where you think that is now, because we have this proliferation of other digital assets along the spectrum from decentralized to centralized, right? And it seems like every little space available along that spectrum is being occupied by a different project.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I take a zoom out view, take a macro view of all of it collectively. The cost of digital asset creation is zero. So macroeconomically, there's going to be a lot of supply of coins from a Stanford University student making a coin just to experiment, to a VC funded coin, to bad actor type coins. all of it's going on simultaneously, and it's kind of passing through Darwin's trial by fire, the real world, the internet, the spot market. And what comes out is just like venture capital, in that venture capital, they look for 5% of their investments to succeed, and that pays for all the rest. I think it's even more extreme in crypto. With permissionless innovation, you have a cost of digital asset creation is 0. So you're going to have a near infinite supply. 99.9% of tokens will be worthless. But that other 0.1% will be amazing. You have 60,000, that's a real number, meme coins being created in 24 hours on Solana as a case study example. And so just laws of supply and demand tell us most of those coins are going to be worthless, but you got to have that if you're going to be open source. The alternative to that is some centralized authority saying which token is good or bad.
Yeah. All right. So your focus now is on Hemi and Block. How did you get from working with Satoshi and focused on Bitcoin Core to this?
Well, it's been a pretty rational and logical journey. I was working as a hobby on Bitcoin for the first 3 years. I was working at Red Hat on open source, working with, interestingly, the inventor of Linux, Linus Torvalds, on the Linux kernel. And my work is in all the Android phones in the world, all the data centers in the world. Yeah, exactly. And that's totally unrelated to blockchain. And thank you to Red Hat for letting me work on Bitcoin open source software in addition to Linux open source software. So it was a volunteer, a hobby, a passion for the first couple of years. Then I worked with BitPay, payment processor in the space, early mover, very innovative people. And then in 2015, 2016, formed Block, which is fundamentally some people say startup incubator, but that paints the wrong picture. We're all builders. We're not going out and writing seed checks to externals. We're people that build stuff internally, and we spin out our projects, our founders. So it's kind of more like a Draper University type of model or something. And we spun out Metronome, which is DeFi, Vesper, which is DeFi yield aggregation, Odyssey, which is spinning out this year, which is a smart wallet, making use of the Ethereum smart wallet stuff, Titan, which is Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin hash power marketplace. But the natural extension was, and why we're all here, is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I think the macro narrative is a return to Bitcoin. There's been a lot of experimentation with, okay, we see what doesn't work in the generation 1 of blockchains. That's your Litecoins, your Doge coins. You have to spin up an entire network just to have a coin. Yeah. So inefficient. So the world invented Ethereum, and now we have the EVM, but that left behind some of Bitcoin's strengths. And so I think the world, and Hemi specifically, is coming to this fusion of the king and queen of crypto, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and especially Bitcoin DeFi. And so people are holders of Bitcoin. There's so much institutional support of Bitcoin at the edge versus any other token, even Ethereum.
Yeah.
And so people see that institutionals move slow. People that are not in the crypto community, they need to get a comfort level with Bitcoin, and that's starting to happen.
Yeah.
And so now you have the Bitcoin pragmatist, where previously you had the Bitcoin maximalist. So Bitcoin pragmatism is in part DeFi. Bitcoin pragmatism is in part, let's generate some yield on our Bitcoin. Let's not just keep it in a cold wallet under a dark mountain behind armed guards. I want to earn more Bitcoin on my Bitcoin. And that's doable now with Hemi, especially in a decentralized way.
Very, very cool. I love that phrase, Bitcoin pragmatism. It actually, I don't know if you saw J.D. Vance's speech earlier today. But
I saw clips.
Yeah, but the end of the speech, I think, kind of ties in with that. He was saying to the audience, you guys are obviously very passionate about Bitcoin. But anyway, the TLDR would be something like you need to be a little more pragmatic.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Hemi is a Bitcoin L2.
We call it a modular blockchain
Okay.
connecting both Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Okay.
We're using an EVM, but we're totally unique, and so it requires a little bit of explanation.
Please.
We use Bitcoin for security, so we call that Bitcoin super finality when our chain is fully anchored with 6 confirmations into the Bitcoin L1. We're a real Bitcoin tunnel, so we're not restaking, recollateralizing, printing fake Bitcoin. Our Bitcoin tunnel, when you exit from our LVM, you get real Bitcoin on the Bitcoin L1. But we're also doing that with Ethereum as well. And so it's a fusion of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And in my humble opinion, that's 10 chess moves down the line versus I'm a Bitcoin L2. I just staple gunned an EVM onto an anchoring solution, or I'm an Optimism L2. I just forked Ethereum yesterday. I have a dev and a half. You know, we're a 30-person team. We've been working on Hemi for 2 years. We have deep Bitcoin knowledge far beyond myself. My CTO, Max Sanchez, and other folks on the team have been building in Bitcoin for years. And so I think it shows.
Yeah. Now, again, I'm fairly ignorant on this, so I apologize. But is Hemi then like a side chain?
That's no, it's a great question, and you know, it warms my heart because sidechain's an old school word. You know, we were talking about Bitcoin sidechains in 2010, 2011, 2012, and it's a beautiful world when we're finally building Bitcoin sidechains for real. As we record this, Hemi has more than $1 billion worth of digital assets on chain and is a real Bitcoin sidechain. And in 2010, 2011, I didn't think I would, you know, be on the cusp of such a successful sidechain in such a short amount of time. You know, is it an L2? Is it a sidechain? Is it a peer chain? Is it an overflow chain? All of these, I think, apply in part. I talk about visualize a champagne waterfall at a wedding or a hotel or something like that. You can't put all the coffees in the world on Bitcoin. And so that traffic is going to waterfall down. That's Darwin. That's inevitable. So layer 2 side chains, they're inevitable and they're going to be here to stay. And so that was our projection. Our projection was correct. Now, again, like I was saying earlier, the cost of digital asset creation is zero. The cost of blockchain creation is also zero, which means, again, supply and demand. Anybody can create a blockchain now. That's great for permissionless innovation. That's open source. That's decentralized. It also means, from a supply and demand perspective, you got a ton of side chains. We have over 100 Bitcoin L2s that I'm aware of. Over 100 ETH L2s I'm aware of. We have only one ETH and Bitcoin L2 that I'm aware of, Hemi.
Right. Cool. So it sounds like you were pretty early to Bitcoin DeFi, right? Like, said 2015 is when you started Block?
That's right.
With Bitcoin DeFi kind of in mind. I think now, here we are at the Bitcoin conference 2025. It's kind of a consensus play that Bitcoin DeFi is a thing. Why were you early to this? How did you see this coming down the line?
Man, I don't know if it's a curse or a blessing that I'm early to everything. I can at least pat myself on the back and say I'm right. You know, like I said, in the 1990s, I saw Bitcoin as inevitable. I just didn't have the timeline.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it was another 20 years before it happened,
Wow.
but it happened.
Yeah.
Bitcoin DeFi, it took 10 years, not 12 months.
Yeah.
But it happened.
Yeah.
Just, it's the Darwinian trial by fire. Think about every person on our 8, 9, 10 billion person planet. They have to learn about it, understand it, get through the initial, oh, this is great, or, oh, you know, my brother just swiped my password and therefore my Bitcoin, and then get to a place where it makes sense for you as an average individual. every person, every country, every jurisdiction, every set of laws has their own journey with Bitcoin. And I think it took all of that a decade to finally get to where we are today.
Okay, yeah. So I've heard this critique of Bitcoin DeFi. It's no longer said as much, but I still heard it, and I'd like you to comment on it. That the best use case for like a Bitcoin sidechain or an L2 is basically as a trustless bridge to more performant blockchains like Ethereum or Solana. What do you think about that? Is that just completely wrong? Or
well, it's I'd say it's right, and Hemi is pursuing that vision, but I'd kind of rewrite the question a little bit in that Hemi is not only a trustless bridge, but it's also putting on my hat as a Bitcoin developer. Bitcoin script, it's bomb-proof, it's secure, but it's very limited, very tough to program. And versus Ethereum EVMs, you don't have this thing, smart contract addresses where they're self-sovereign, they're self-executing code. And so that means Bitcoin itself is very limited. And the trustless bridge part, you're just bridging to a wider programmability. And so our macro view is Bitcoin is more programmable now that you have this bridge and programmable layer, yet still you're directly connected to Bitcoin L1. And another unique feature of Hemi specifically that, again, no one else has is our L1 Bitcoin, our node is embedded inside our Ethereum node. Okay, what the heck does that mean?
What does that mean?
That means that unlike every other EVM out there, your Solidity smart contract can read from the Bitcoin blockchain.
Oh, really?
So you can validate payments using Solidity. You can send Bitcoin transactions on the Bitcoin L1 triggered with Solidity code in the EVM on the L2.
Oh, cool.
So it's a bigger picture than just here's a bridge to a brighter future. It's really, we've fused it all together into something greater.
Do you think that it's important for Bitcoin to have more than just the kind of store of value narrative? To have other things like you said, like kind of importing some programmability or being able to be used as a medium of exchange?
Well, that was kind of the big questions in the 2010 days of Bitcoin. Is it a medium of exchange, a unit of account, a store of value? And my big brain take on Bitcoin is 2 words: Bitcoin is. And expand clicking for detail. Bitcoin is its own unique organism that evolves socially through the Bitcoin holders, the Bitcoin network effect, etc. And so those questions don't really matter, in my humble opinion. I look at, and to import some other verbiage, think about the Web 2 world, the Web 2 SaaS cloud world. They have a term called at the edge, which means that computers that are like on this conference floor, not in a data center, they're close to the people. Netflix has movie servers that are close to your house to deliver super fast streaming. And so you're not streaming from, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And what L1, L2 has evolved to is L2 is at the edge.
Oh, interesting.
For the blockchain version. And so Bitcoin is a settlement layer. It's not necessarily a store of value, medium of exchange, unit of account. It's again, with my engineering background, it's a backbone of money. It's the root of the crypto tree. And it's got to be bomb-proof. It's got to be super secure. And then the layer 2, the Ethereums of the world, the Hemis of the world are at the edge to provide more programmability so that the core, it doesn't have to change. It remains bomb-proof.
Yeah, very, very cool. I like that. All right, 2 more questions. Second to last one, what are you kind of most excited about in Bitcoin right now? And what are you worried about?
Well, excited is kind of what we covered earlier. I think the world is coming back to Bitcoin. that bomb-proof nature, the secure nature of it. A quick, hilarious anecdote. The Trump administration, the White House, they were looking at a strategic crypto reserve, and that was bandied about. And the first version that was tweeted was it was going to have like Ripple, XRP, and Solana, and this, that, and the other. And then, like, mysteriously, that tweet was deleted. 24 to 48 hours later, it's going to be a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And it's a fun story. But I think reading the tea leaves, and no, I don't have inside information, I think what went on is there's a conversation in governments around the world of what cryptos are kind of safe to embrace, what cryptos can institutionals start to put their toe in the waters of, can governments start to hold? And it's not going to be the meme coin of the month. It's not going to be something that pump.fun pumped out. It's going to be, Bitcoin.
No
again.
Coin.
That's right. That's exactly right. So that's why I think, and again, no inside knowledge, the Trump administration came to the conclusion of strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's just a data point, an example of what's going on around the world, and corporates putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets, government holding strategic Bitcoin, individuals rediscovering. That's kind of the blue skies, green field that's going on right now. People are finally realizing, okay, a lot of cryptos are fly by night. What has staying power? What's been here 15 years and keeps on churning out blocks and is decentralized? And, you keep narrowing down that list till you get one.
Yeah.
And that's Bitcoin.
Right.
What worries me about Bitcoin, I guess, is ossification and quantum.
Okay.
I'd say ossification is that it's so bomb-proof, and we've seen this in other crypto systems. It's so well-engineered, it's so reliable that kind of the Maytag repairman goes to sleep. And so after 5 years or 10 years or something, there won't be anybody around to continue to maintain and repair because it's so successful and it's working so well, and it doesn't need changing. So you kind of have a victim of your own success there. And then quantum is kind of the black swan. Is it going to unlock all of Satoshi's old coins or something like that?
Right.
So there's that risk. I think that the community, I'm not worried about quantum, just for the record. I think the community will develop mitigations well in time for any actual break that'll occur.
Yeah.
But those are two kind of speed bumps in the road, I think.
Are you not worried about the security budget? Or do you also think that community's got to figure that out?
I think it's a self-balancing system.
Okay.
And so as the block reward, people get weaned off the block reward as it reduces every 4 years. Then as more and more people rely on it, they'll continue to need that security. And so they'll continue to pay for it.
Okay. All right. Last question. If you were a young developer starting off 2025, what would you be focused on? Would it still be on Bitcoin and crypto? Would it be on AI? I just would love to hear from a veteran.
Well, I'm currently, as a hobby, doing some AI animation stuff and just to keep my hand in, doing AI coding over at Hemi. And this is absolutely going to turn over the world, and especially, interestingly, more white-collar jobs than blue-collar. And so the advice is learn how to use AI as a tool early, because everyone else is, so you don't want to be left behind. And, learn as many skills as you can as possible. So whether that's computer programming or design or, kind of more physical type of artisan type tasks, just build. If you're building something, if you're creating, if you're adding something of value to the world, then you're doing the right thing.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Legendary guy here, guys.
Thank you.
We're done.